Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my Cryptocast. Today, we have very exclusive on the ground coverage of the Big Data and AI conference in Toronto. And we have Dominick Romano here for an inside look. Thank you so much for giving us this perspective today.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you, as always, for having me here on this wonderful platform. And today I am traveling in Toronto, Canada, where right now under session we have Big Data and AI Toronto, which is a grouping of all of the biggest tech players really in Canada, not just Toronto in particular, but throughout the entire country. And we're having some amazing discussions here about the economic impact of artificial intelligence. So everything from how the workforce is standing to change, everything from, how the economy is going to be impacted. So there's a whole range here. And, Toronto is very well known for their financial hub that they have here, where they have, several major banks that are located here. So, with that being the case, there's a lot of interest in cybersecurity, using AI for cybersecurity, using AI for detecting transactions that are fraudulent. Yeah, it's proliferate. It's like really proliferating right now. The interest has really proliferated, and I'm seeing a lot more interest now from governments. I'm seeing a lot more interest in actual tangible results, right? And what happens is that people today in AI, because it's such a wonderful topic overall, right? And just all the good that can come from it, people get a little lost in the higher level discussions about it. And then when it comes time to implement and actually make it happen, it never, sometimes it just doesn't follow through. So a lot of the conversations that have been happening here in the last 48 hours have been very much about the implementation, and with a targeted focus on, we have a problem. This is the solution that will fix that problem. And then this is the deliverable. And that's something that we've been managing.
You bring up a excellent point. Despite the advancements of artificial intelligence over the past decades now, I believe everyday people have been apathetic. And even from what you're saying on higher levels of government, I think for the everyday person, it wasn't tangible to their lives until the recent release of a lot of those consumer grade generative AI tools. What are the themes coming out of this conference?
So the future of the workforce is one. So obviously looking at how we can reduce waste in the workforce and how we can, more efficiently get things done and for less cost, right? Some other themes are universities.
To touch on that point, it sounds like there are discussions on AGI, or artificial general intelligence, which would allow the AIs to do, like more complex white collar tasks. Because you're talking about reducing
not necessarily
the workforce.
Kind of, but so it's not necessarily that we're going to use like an AI to just like automate all of it, or that it's not going to require AGI in order to actually get the actual benefit, the market benefit of AI in that capacity. And I think that the market it's still kind of warming up, right? So you have this weird thing occurring right now in AI where, many economies in the after effects of COVID have, started kind of seeing these slumps in, just economic growth, right? So we're starting to kind of go back into a recession. And, at the same time, people are spending more money than ever on artificial intelligence. Like, it's not stopping. And that's because it's one of those things that like every company actually really needs, because it turns your data into gold.
What are some of the implications of artificial intelligence for even the everyday person?
So, this is part of why I really wanted to have that conversation yesterday about AI proficiency in populations, because can you repeat that for me real quick?
Of your conference, or
It's very related, because I wanted to get Miss Alicia Aurora. She's the youngest AI researcher at MIT. and she is the WEF, the World Economic Forum, AI youth advocate. So she works with governments to help them implement programs to train young adults and teenagers how to, develop advanced technologies and how to, roll them out.
It sounds like an extremely amazing opportunity you had. Were you 2 sharing the stage together? What was the
Yeah,
topic?
so I was kind of like the leader a little bit in that, just kind of helping her kind of step through that and asking her questions and bringing the conversation to her because I wanted to take that moment to really inspire the young adults out there, right? So she's 17. So, I'm 32 now. I'm almost double her age. She's got a younger audience of people who really admire her and look up to her, rightfully so, because she's a very brilliant young woman. And then, she also has, what's the word I'm looking for? She also has the older generation that I can connect to, and I do more frequently than the younger generation in technology. I can connect to the older generation a little bit differently. So by
You and I
having the
remember
two
a
of us,
time before the internet.
yeah. So by having the two of us together on a stage is it created a really interesting dynamic, which I'm so excited for people who weren't here to be able to see when it becomes public.
I'm glad you 2 are able to bridge the generational divide, especially considering her age and how much artificial intelligence is going to impact her workforce, her generation migrating into the workforce. To make me happy, any talks on blockchain and artificial intelligence?
Yeah, there was the Waterloo University was talking about blockchain.
So you're talking about the workforce, and it gets me thinking. So I know you understand the concept of decentralized autonomous organizations or DAOs, and I was wondering what would happen if we applied AI to DAOs. So DAOs are basically businesses on the blockchain with
Yeah.
self-governing rules using smart contracts to automate a lot of different processes. What if we gave artificial intelligence access to treasuries and access to running a DAO?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's going to be the next generation of like the cognitive collective in a sense, right? Um, Ultimately, when you think about let's say you think about a blockchain, right? It's very similar to a data mesh, right? Because it's really just a giant ledger, and that
An interoperable universal ledger. I mean, at this time,
yes,
you have the ledger for gold or the ledger for real estate or the ledger for money, different ledgers. But once we streamline all this process through the blockchain and you can send any asset as quickly as you can send an email, I mean, just imagine the opportunity that's going to provide for everyone.
yeah, and I'm seeing these interesting things that people are trying to do with workflows to really accelerate the productivity that we're able to gain from utilizing these tools, right? So, they'll make it so that you have to go to ChatGPT to type something in a browser. Well, every single time you are putting a form in, there should be a Drainpipe button for you to hit that they can fill out that form for you.
So you're imagining basically Drainpipe will be a tool for aggregating all this disparate datas.
Yes, yes, and then letting you deploy it to whatever databases you want, like anything.
What's next for Drainpipe?
Oh boy, well,
I
being
always
here, I've
refer to you as
been
the Swiss Army knife of AI
uh,
tools.
while being here, I've been pulled in like a million different directions. So that's interesting. But I'll pick out a couple decent deals from that. We got we have the Global AI Policy Summit coming up at Zurich in November. That's November 3rd and 4th. That's a great event as well. A lot of good things come out of that. I've met a tremendous amount of like really, really, really good people.
You
And then,
speak to any interesting conversations you've had and who you've spoken with?
well, I mean, I can kind of talk about like some of it. Some of it is obviously like under NDA. So, I can't really talk about too much. But yeah, we have a couple of relatively large guys and players that we deal with. One of them happens to have over 250 petabytes of data that they want processed every 24 hours. And that data has to be available across their entire organization at the access group level.
When are we going to be required to use quantum computing to go through this data? I mean, back in my day, it was a floppy disk with, now we weren't even up to the megabyte yet.
Yeah, we're going to continue to see some growth. I just fear that our silicon chips are long gone.
Mhm.
So we're going to have to figure out like what that looks like. What does that look like in 10 years?
Back to the labor force and
Sure.
basically the shift we're going to see in white collar work. Any talks at the conference about like a universal basic income or UBI?
No, I haven't really seen so much of that. I mean, most of the conversations here have been like really technical and not so much problem focused, but more like just straight technical.
The person you spoke with, Alicia, she's focused on the intersection of artificial intelligence and mental health. How do those
Mhm.
two intersect?
Good question. So, part of her story that she had spoken about yesterday was a very personal moment where a very close friend of hers passed away from some sort of a cancer that's really aggressive in women. And, that inspired her to get into building a large language model that can evaluate social media posts. And from the social media posts, come up with a prediction of how likely this teenager or young adult is to commit suicide.
Wow. Especially with the advent of social media, I know we're seeing an increased propensity towards, mental health issues, towards suicides. To be able to run a large language model through all that data to get people the help they need, that sounds profound.
Yeah, and there is a lot of talk here today about the future of work. A lot.
That goes back to the UBI discussion, whether regardless of where you sit on the fence, the concern is that eventually automation is going to replace. At first, I think we were only concerned it was taking away the blue collar jobs, with the automation, but now we're seeing that white collared work, graphics generators, musicians, they're creating a world where basically I do more complex white collar work, whether it's sending out emails on my behalf to a list of people in my sales funnel. What is the future of work?
Well, I think the future of work is interconnected systems where we have 100% observability into what's going on in the system and allows for us to manage where we put and where we store the data, right? And then since we're going to manage where we store the data, we can then manage, you know, a whole lot more, right? Because once you store the data, then you can do compressions, you can do all kinds of things with that data. And that's huge. That's a big step. It's very exciting.
All right. Shall we wind down? Any other
Sure.
topics or thoughts you wanted to?
Well, thank you again, Alex, for like making this all happen. Right. So thank you very much. And it's always an honor to join you on here.
I really appreciate you taking the time out of the conference to speak with our audience. And I'm just excited to learn more of how AI is going to reshape the future. So, yep. Thank you to Dominic and also viewers, as always. Thank you for tuning into my Cryptocast, where we are here every
Yeah.
week to explore the new internet. And please check out Dominic's and my social media handles and websites below. And see you all next week for more AI and Web3 insights. Peace.